What if everything you thought you knew about your life was a lie? What if the people you trusted the most were hiding secrets from you? Maya's journey started with an invitation that would unravel a truth so shocking it would change everything. Tonight, Maya will discover the truth about who she really is. But will it set her free, or shatter the world she's built for herself? In a city of wealth, ambition, and fast-paced living, it's easy to overlook those left behind. People like Maya, a woman who's been on the streets longer than she cares to remember, with nothing but a worn-out sign that reads, "Trying to get back on my feet." Most pass her by without a second glance, blind to the humanity in her eyes. But life has a funny way of surprising you. On this particular evening, Maya's fate was about to change, not through a stroke of luck or some grand miracle, but by a stranger's simple, unexpected gesture. Ethan, the kind of man who seemed to have it all: money, status, power, yet something seemed to be missing. His eyes caught Maya's, but it wasn't pity that he felt. Number. It was something deeper, a connection, perhaps, that he couldn't quite explain. He could have kept walking. He could have kept ignoring the countless faces that made up the backdrop of his world. But there was something about Maya, something that wouldn't let him pass by without reaching out. Ethan told, "Hey, I know this might sound strange, but would you be willing to come with me to a wedding tomorrow? I'll pay for everything: clothes, food, a place to stay." Maya was used to rejection, to being invisible in the eyes of the world. But this man, this stranger, was offering something different. It wasn't money, it wasn't pity, it was an invitation, a chance to step out of the shadows for a moment. Maya told, "A wedding? Why me? What do you want from me?" Ethan told, "I don't want anything from you. I just thought you'd like to go." It was a simple invitation, yet in Maya's world it felt like a turning point. She wasn't sure why he was offering it or what he was expecting, but something about his words made her pause. For the first time in a long while, Maya wasn't being seen as a problem or an inconvenience. She was being seen as a person, invited to share in a moment of someone else's life. It was rare, too rare. Maya told, "All right, I'll go, but I'll need a dress. I don't have anything to wear." Ethan told, "Get yourself something nice. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Maya had spent years living without luxuries, without hope. But now, something felt different. She wasn't sure where this journey would take her, but for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to dream. Ethan told, "I'll pick you up tomorrow at 5. Don't worry about anything. I'll handle the rest." Tomorrow, a word that meant little to Maya, a woman whose days bled into one another with little distinction. But somehow, Ethan had given her a reason to look forward to the future. A wedding, a dress, a chance to feel something different. In a world that had given her nothing but hardship, Maya was about to step into a world she never imagined, one filled with wealth, secrets, and the kind of people who could make or break a person with just a glance. But what would happen when she arrived? The world outside hadn't changed for Maya. The streets were still the same, crowded, fast-paced, indifferent. But for the first time in years, Maya felt like she was entering a world she'd long forgotten. A world where people wore more than rags, where they didn't have to fight for every meal or avoid judgment at every turn. Attendant told, "Can I help you find something? Maybe something for a special occasion?" She was no stranger to being overlooked. In this world, people like Maya weren't meant to walk into stores like this. She was used to the cold looks, the whispered comments. But today was different. today she was someone worth noticing. For years, Maya had lived in a constant state of survival. Her wardrobe consisted of whatever she could find or what she could get from a charity. She had long forgotten the feeling of elegance, the joy of putting on something that made you feel like you mattered. But today, something changed. She wasn't just a homeless woman. She was a person, a woman who deserved to feel beautiful. The dress felt foreign to her. The soft fabric, the sharp lines. It was a far cry from the worn jeans and oversized jacket she usually wore. But, as she looked at her reflection, a strange sense of something else washed over her. Not fear, not doubt, but power. She had never seen herself like this before. Standing there, the woman in the mirror wasn't someone she recognized. She was taller somehow, more poised, her shoulders straight and her posture proud. For the first time in what felt like forever, Maya allowed herself to truly see herself, her beauty, her strength, her potential. This wasn't just about the clothes, it was about something much deeper, a transformation that went beyond fabric and thread. Maya was shedding the layers of pain and shame that had built up over the years. She was stepping into a new version of herself, one that was still familiar but with a sense of dignity and self-worth she hadn't known in a long time. As the minutes ticked away, Maya stood at the threshold of something unknown. She didn't know what to expect when she saw Ethan again, or when she stepped into the world he inhabited. She only knew that this moment, this choice to step into the light, was hers alone to make. The streets outside were still the same, but Maya was no longer just a part of the background noise. She was walking with purpose now, her steps a little more confident, a little more determined. And when Ethan's car pulled up, she stepped forward without hesitation. Ethan had seen her only hours earlier, disheveled, weary, a woman whose life had been marked by hardship. But now, as he looked at her, he saw something else, a woman who had been given a chance and had taken it. A woman who had allowed herself to believe, even for just a moment, that she could be more than what life had handed her. Ethan told, "You look incredible, Maya. I knew you had it in you." Maya told, "Thank you. I didn't think I'd be able to do this." Ethan wasn't just complimenting her appearance. He was acknowledging the strength it had taken for Maya to transform, to step outside the boundaries that life had imposed on her. As Maya sat beside Ethan in the car, she couldn't help but wonder, what would this night hold for her? Would she remain the woman who had walked the streets, the woman who lived in the shadows? Or would she step into a world she had only ever dreamed of? She wasn't sure what would happen next, or if this transformation would stick. But for the first time in a long while, Maya felt like she had control over something, her own future, her own path, and that, in itself, was a victory. Maya had walked through life unnoticed. Tonight, she would walk into a world where her presence mattered, where she could be seen for who she was, not just a homeless woman, but a woman of strength, grace, and resilience. Maya had never seen anything like this before. The grandeur of it all, the white stone walls, the glimmering chandeliers, the scent of fresh flowers filling the air, was almost overwhelming. She had spent so long in the shadows, in the quiet corners of the city, that a place like this felt like a different world entirely. For a moment, it was hard to breathe. She had come a long way from the streets, from the cold sidewalks that had been her bed for too many years. But now, as she sat in Ethan's car, staring up at the wedding venue, she couldn't help but wonder, who was she in this world? Ethan was already several steps ahead of her, leading the way, his hand resting on her back as if to reassure her. But for Maya, every step forward felt like a leap into the unknown. She was a fish out of water, caught between two worlds, the one she had known and the one she was now trying to belong to. As Maya walked into the heart of the celebration, the whispers started. Her dress was beautiful, yes, but it wasn't a designer gown. It didn't have the sparkling jewels or the elegance that others in the room flaunted. Yet Maya stood tall, her shoulders squared, as if determined not to shrink into the background. And then there was Claire, Ethan's ex-fiancée, the woman who had once been a part of his world, who had once been his world. Her gaze locked onto Maya the moment she stepped through the doors. There was a flicker of recognition, followed by something else, a mix of confusion, disdain, and perhaps even jealousy. Claire was everything Maya wasn't: wealthy, polished, the picture of grace, the kind of woman who commanded attention without saying a word. And as she approached them, Maya couldn't help but feel the weight of her gaze. The scrutiny was palpable. Claire told Ethan, "I didn't expect you to bring someone like her." Ethan told Claire, "Meet Maya. She's someone worth knowing." The silence between them thickens. Claire's smile falters slightly, her eyes narrowing as if trying to place Maya. It was clear that Maya didn't belong here in Claire's world. Not by dress, not by status, not by anything. Maya told, "It's nice to meet you, Claire." Claire told, "Nice to meet you, Maya. Enjoy the wedding." Claire's reaction wasn't surprising. In a world of wealth and privilege, there was little room for someone like Maya, someone from the streets, someone who didn't belong. But Maya didn't let it affect her. She couldn't. This was a test of her own strength, of how far she was willing to go to prove she was more than the circumstances she had been born into. The wedding was everything Ethan had described: elegant, breathtaking, and carefully constructed. But as Maya watched Claire and James exchange vows, something in her shifted. It wasn't about the ceremony or the vows or even the lavish decorations. It was about something deeper. Was this all real? Or was this just a game? A show for the rich and privileged to play in their gilded cages? Maya had always been good at reading people, at understanding their unspoken words, and as she looked up to see Ethan standing next to her, she realized something. This wasn't just about the wedding. This wasn't about a man trying to prove a point. This was about her transformation, her strength, and her ability to rise above everything that had ever held her down. Ethan told, "You're more than you know, Maya." Maya told, "I'm not sure what I'm doing here, Ethan." Ethan told, "Sometimes the right place finds you when you least expect it." In a world that had never seen her for who she truly was, Maya was starting to see herself. And as the night unfolded, so too would the truth about who she could become. Maya had stepped into this world unsure of who she was meant to be here. But as the night wore on, she could feel it, an invisible shift, a subtle change in the air. The longer she stood there, the more she realized that this was more than just a wedding. It was a show, a carefully constructed narrative, and everyone had their part to play. It wasn't just Maya who felt the tension building. Ethan, the man who had invited her into this world, was just as much a player in this game as everyone else. He smiled and laughed like the man he was supposed to be, but there was a heaviness in his expression, something he couldn't quite hide. Maya had learned long ago how to read people, the way they moved, the subtle shifts in their faces, the things they didn't say. And tonight, as the wedding celebration swirled around her, She could feel the cracks in the perfect facade. Ethan was hiding something, something that he wasn't ready to share, and something that might explain why he'd invited her to this event in the first place. It was the whisper of a conversation that caught her attention, a low murmur, just loud enough to hear. Maya's instincts kicked in, and she moved closer, her footsteps soft on the marble floor. She peered around the corner, careful not to be seen. Ethan. Told, "I don't have a choice, Claire. I've been trying to make this work for months. You have to understand. I can't undo what's been done." Claire. Told, "You don't get to pretend like this doesn't affect me. You invited her here. Her, Ethan, a homeless woman, and you're still not telling me the whole story." Maya froze, her breath catching in her throat. Her? They were talking about her? This was about Maya, Ethan's secret. The reason he had brought her here, had given her that dress, and opened this door to a world she didn't belong to, was finally coming into focus. Ethan. Told, "You don't understand. This was never about her, Claire. This is about me. I've been trying to fix things for so long, but every time I look at you, all I see is her." Claire. Told, "Is that why you're parading her around at my wedding, Ethan? Trying to prove a point? To make up for all the years I spent trying to fix your mistakes? You don't get to make me the villain because you're too scared to face the truth." The truth. That was it. That was the key to all of this. Maya could feel it. The sharp edge in Claire's voice, the quiet despair in Ethan's. There was more to this story than Maya had realized. And as the words hit her, a cold realization washed over her. She wasn't just an invitation. She wasn't just some charity project. She had been pulled into something much deeper than she ever could have imagined. Ethan had seen her leave, his eyes immediately finding her in the crowd. He followed her, his footsteps quick and deliberate, but when he caught up to her by the door, his face was conflicted. The man, who had once seemed so confident, now looked lost. Ethan. Told Maya, "Wait. I didn't want you to hear that. You weren't supposed to be part of this." Maya. Told, "I wasn't supposed to be part of any of this, was I, Ethan? This was never about me. You brought me here because you needed to fix something. You needed a distraction, someone to make you feel better about the mess you've made with her." Ethan. Told, "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't plan for you to get caught up in the mess between Claire and me. I thought I could show you something better. But everything I've done, it's been a mistake." The words stung, but there was something in his voice, something raw, vulnerable, that Maya couldn't ignore. She had known that Ethan wasn't perfect. But this revelation shattered the image she had of him as someone who had it all together, someone who had brought her here out of pure kindness. No, this was about guilt. And in a way, Maya understood that. She had lived with guilt too, guilt that the world had forgotten her, that her life had turned into a struggle. Maya. Told, maybe you're not the only one who's been trying to fix things." Maya. Told, "I don't know what this all means, but I'm not here to be a pawn in your guilt, Ethan. I came here to see who I could be in this world, not to be a solution for yours." The night had taken a turn. Secrets, long buried and hidden beneath layers of wealth and privilege, had begun to surface. And Maya? She was no longer just a guest. She was no longer just someone on the outside looking in. She was a person who had seen the truth, and now her future wasn't tied to the lies of others. It had been a night of revelations, the kind of night that shakes you to your core and forces you to look at everything differently. The glittering world she had been thrust into, A world of wealth, power, and secrets suddenly felt smaller, more fragile. The truth of Ethan's guilt, Claire's manipulations, and the role Maya had unknowingly played in their drama had shifted something inside her. But now, as she stood alone under the night sky, a new feeling emerged. Clarity. A sense of understanding that had been lost in the chaos of her life until now. Maya had spent years fighting for survival in a world that seemed intent on forgetting her, on pushing her to the edges of everything that mattered. But tonight, for the first time, she had glimpsed a world where she might have a place not defined by her past, but by her own choices. The choice was hers now. Ethan had been watching her all night, trying to gauge her reactions. But when she left, when she disappeared into the night air, he'd felt something deep stir inside him. Guilt, fear, perhaps even something else, something he couldn't name. The truth was, Ethan had never expected Maya to see through the layers of his carefully constructed world. He had expected gratitude, even awe. But instead, he saw someone who understood far too well what he had been hiding. Ethan told Maya, "Can we talk?" Maya told, "You want to talk? About what? About how I was just a solution to your guilt? How I was supposed to make things right between you and Claire?" Ethan told Maya, "It wasn't supposed to be like that. I brought you here because I thought I was doing something good. I thought if I could show you this world, if I could fix things, maybe it would make up for everything I've screwed up." Maya told, "I'm not here to fix you, Ethan. I'm not here to be some kind of band-aid for your problems. You brought me into this world thinking I needed you, but what I needed was for you to be honest. Honest with me, with yourself. All I ever wanted was to be seen, to be heard, not to be used." Maya told, "Do you know why I ended up on the streets, Ethan?" Maya told, "I didn't end up there because I was weak. I didn't end up there because I was a failure. I ended up there because this world is unforgiving, and it chews people like me up and spits them out. But I survived. I fought. I made it out because I chose to. So don't tell me that I need fixing. I've been fixing myself for years." Maya had always been stronger than she gave herself credit for. In this moment, she realized it wasn't about Ethan or Claire or anyone else. It was about her choices, her journey, and that was something no one could take away from her. Maya told, "No, Ethan, you've had your chance to tell your story. Now it's my turn." For so long, Maya had been defined by the circumstances she couldn't control, the poverty, the hunger, the loneliness. But in this moment, as she walked away from Ethan, from the wedding, from the gilded cage that had been built around her, Maya realized she had always held the power. The turning point had come not in the grand gestures, not in the luxury or the power, but in the quiet decisions we make when we decide we're no longer willing to be defined by others. Maya was done being the side character in someone else's story. She was ready to write her own. Maya had walked away from everything. Away from Ethan, away from the wedding, away from the gilded cage that had tried to confine her. She had chosen herself. It wasn't a decision born of pride or defiance, but of self-respect. She had seen the truth. She had seen her worth. And that was something no one could take away from her. For so long, Maya had been invisible, a shadow, unnoticed, drifting through life without direction or purpose. She had lived in a world that told her she wasn't enough for the job, enough for the people around her, enough to even be seen. But tonight, that world had shifted. Tonight, Maya had stepped into the light. She had claimed her space in a way that no one could take from her. Text on message and phone, Ethan. Maya, please, let's talk. I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know the truth. There's more to everything than you think. Don't walk away from this without hearing me out. Ethan had tried to reach out again, but Maya was done being a part of his story. He had tried to draw her back in with his words, his apologies, his excuses, but Maya knew now that her journey was hers alone. She didn't need his validation. She didn't need his regrets. She needed only herself. Maya had always been told she was invisible, a face in the crowd, a name no one cared to remember. But tonight, she had changed that. Tonight, she was no longer the girl on the sidelines. She had stepped into the center of her own life, making her own choices, writing her own story, and with every step, she was reclaiming her power, her voice, and her future. Barista told, "Good evening. What can I get you?" Maya told, "Just a coffee. Black, please." In that quiet moment, Maya realized how much she had grown. She had spent so long running from herself, from the weight of her past, from the shame of her circumstances. But now, in this stillness, she was learning to be okay with who she was. No longer defined by the opinions of others, no longer shaped by the past, Maya was free. Text on message and phone, Janice. Maya, where are you? You just disappeared. Is everything okay? Text on message and phone, I'm okay, Janice. I'm more than okay. I'm figuring things out. I'll explain soon. But for now, I'm just living, just me. Maya's journey wasn't over. There was so much more for her to discover, to build, to experience. But the difference now was that she had control. She wasn't waiting for someone to give her a place in this world. She had carved out her own space, and she was ready to fill it with everything she deserved. Maya had won. She had triumphed, not because she had won a battle, but because she had found something far more powerful. She had found her voice, she had found her strength, and she had found herself. Maya had come a long way since the wedding, the night of secrets, revelations, and turning points. She had chosen herself, left behind the world that tried to define her, and walked toward a future that was hers to create. But as the dust settled and the days moved on, Maya began to sense that something was still missing. She had made her peace with Ethan, with Claire, with everything that had happened. But there was one question she couldn't answer, one piece of the puzzle that refused to fit. Text message on Janice. Maya, I've been thinking about what you said the other day, about you figuring things out. I get it now, but there's something I need to tell you, something important. You should know. Call me when you can. It was funny how life could surprise you. Maya had thought the storm had passed, that she had already confronted everything there was to confront. But, like all great revelations, the truth always had a way of creeping up when you least expected it. Janice told Maya, I know you're busy, but I need you to listen. You're not going to believe this, but I found something about Ethan. Maya told, something about Ethan? What do you mean? Janice told, I don't know how to say this, Maya, but Ethan isn't just some rich guy with a guilt complex. He's been keeping something from you, something big. I don't even know how to explain this, but I think you need to know the truth. And it's not about Claire or the wedding or any of that. It's about who you are, Maya. You know how you've always wondered why Ethan invited you to the wedding? Why he felt the need to fix things with you? Well, it's because he knows you, Maya. He knows you better than you think. The truth is, you're family. You're his half-sister, Maya. You're his sister. I don't know how he found out or why he kept it from you all this time, but he's known. He's known for years." Maya told, "What? What do you mean? How? Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't I know?" Janice told, "I don't know all the details, Maya, but Ethan's family, they've kept a lot of secrets. His parents, they didn't want anyone to know about you. They didn't want you to be a part of his life, not after everything that happened. But Ethan knew. I guess, somewhere along the way, he couldn't let go of the idea that you might be the missing piece. He thought if he could fix things with you, if he could make up for the years that were lost, he could make everything right." Maya told, "So, all of this, the wedding, the dress, the attention, was about me being his sister. That's why he brought me there? To fix something he wasn't even sure I knew existed." Janice told, "Yes, Maya, but he messed it up. He was so caught up in his guilt and his need to make everything right that he didn't stop to think about what you needed. He didn't see you for who you really are. Not just someone to save, but someone to love. Someone who had her own story to tell." The revelation was painful. It shattered the final illusion, the idea that Ethan's actions had been driven by anything other than guilt and confusion. But, at the same time, it was freeing. It wasn't her fault. She had never been part of his plans, and now, with this truth, she didn't need to be. Maya had spent so long trying to fit into a world that didn't want her. She had tried to find a place in Ethan's world, in Claire's world. But now, she realized she had always had a place, right here, in her own story. And it was time to live that story, fully and without apologies. The revelation had come at last. And Maya was no longer just surviving. She was living, on her own terms, in her own world, and with the power to shape her own destiny. Maya's journey wasn't just about surviving the past. It was about claiming her future. She took control of her own story and proved that no matter where you come from, you have the power to rewrite your own fate. What would you do if you found out a life-changing secret about your past, one that changed everything you thought you knew about yourself? Would you confront it or walk away? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like Maya's. And as always, thank you for being part of this journey with us.